By now, you just know we're always going to be changing the setup. What's up, everybody? My name is Evan Naka, and we are back at the home office. And yeah, you know what? I'm over it. The setup is always going to change, apparently. I don't think I've had one video this year, last year, any year that has been exactly the same setup. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But I did figure out something with this mic. Now, if you saw a video maybe that I did, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago, and I was introduced this new mic and I was all really excited about it, and for some reason it was always super quiet. Now, I do have a tendency to like lean back here and come back forward, and yeah, that'll do it for sure, Evan. Don't be dumb. You need to be close to your mic. But there was something else that I actually came across that seems like it's been a common issue with this mic. So if you have this mic or are thinking about getting this mic, you might want to pay attention to this next part, because maybe you're facing the same issues, or you could run into the same issue that I'm running into. After doing a little bit of digging, it turns out that this mic actually comes in a lot quieter, especially when you're working with some of these DSLR cameras or cinema cameras. Like for instance, I'm using the FX6, and I just noticed that every time I was talking to this mic, the audio level was really, really low, and it was hard for me to hear it. And I have to bump it up, and then I hear a bunch of noise, and I have to do a bunch of effects to try and get rid of it, and it just doesn't sound clean and crisp, and we all want that clean, crisp audio, right? All I did was I purchased an audio booster, which helps amplify the audio levels going into your camera. It's like $100. I'll go ahead and I'll place a link down below, just so that if you're looking to get the same mic, or maybe you're facing the same issues, get this one. It's super simple. It's super easy. It actually makes all the audio sound nice and crisp. See? But that is not what we are talking about today. Today we are going to be talking about a portrait photo that I took maybe 2 weeks ago. Now, if you guys do follow me and you know who I am, you're probably more familiar with all of my product photography shots. Now, I've shot with a ton of different product brands, and I love product photography, and it'll probably be one of my main true photography loves for many, many, many years to come. But that's not all I do. I actually started with lifestyle photography and got really into portrait photography for a little bit. Now, I've never really explored that as making a profession or a career out of portrait photography, but I have always loved it. So it's something that I will continuously go back to explore, try it out, maybe test out new cameras. And you know what? I love it. I really like connecting with people and taking photos of them, but the bulk of my work does call for more product-focused photography. That's why I'm not always left with a ton of options when it comes to models, because I'm not continuously shooting with models. And if I do shoot with models, it's usually for a product shoot or something that's along the lines of more commercial. It's not really a sit-down session of where I really get to just focus on the lighting and, you know, is it 3/4, creating that Rembrandt triangle, that side light, that back light, the rim light. But I do really, really like that, and it's something that I study on my own free time. So because of that, I wanted to take a photo and test out some new lights that I had gotten and my new camera that I had also gotten. Now, if you watch my other video, and I'll link it down below, which is when I finally got my hands on the new Hasselblad X1D Mark II, which is a phenomenal camera. And I'm still gonna throw out the disclaimer, I am not switching from Sony. I'm not getting rid of my Sony glass. I love Sony, but Hasselblad is pretty badass, and I can't deny that it has amazing picture quality with that medium format camera sensor. Like, ooh, it just looks real good, even with product photography. But I was like, oh, if it looks good on product, it's probably gonna look good on portrait photography, duh. So I wanted to try that out. So around the same time that I received my Hasselblad camera, I also got a brand new Profoto B1X500. Now, if you're not familiar with Profoto, that is the line that is battery operated. For the most part, I'm in the studio, but every once in a while, it does come up that I don't have a direct power source, and I don't always have a generator or anything like that with me. Maybe it's a smaller scale budget, maybe it's more run and gun, and a battery powered strobe light really comes in handy in those kind of pinch areas, or you're just moving really, really fast and you're not trying to locate another outlet or whatever it might be. So I wanted to make sure I had that also part of my gear list that I can offer to clients, or just other shoots in general, just to make it easier on myself. At the end of the day, it's all about making it easier for yourself and your workload. So do yourself a favor, invest in good gear. So because I got that B1X, I also wanted to pair it with my D2s that I have, and I have two of the 2. I have 2 D2s and 1 B1X, and so that means I can do a 3 light setup for portrait photography. Now before, I've done things like this and I've used maybe a speed light or a bounce or something like that just to kind of give the idea of it, but this time I had 3 actual strobe lights that I was able to form around my subject, which in this case was me, and really give that full effect of that 3 light setup. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, just kind of walking through a little bit slower than my normal BTS, where it's like that 15-second. You really got to pay attention, maybe rewatch it and see if you can pick up new techniques. I do it all the time on other people's pages. I'm like, wait, I see something really cool, and then I'm like, wait, I got to watch it again because I missed that really good part where it teaches me something. So this is that video. This is going to just be a little bit more drawn out just to kind of really walk you through how it is to get that style of lighting. So let's get this first part out of the way because I got a lot of questions about the focus of this. Now I'm obviously taking a self-portrait. I don't have anybody taking a photo of me. So that means I'm gonna have to figure out a way to find focus. Now it's really, really simple, especially if you don't have a remote. That's probably the easiest way to do it, and an external trigger of some sort. But for me, I don't have one for this camera. So what I had to do was I just took something to put where I'd be sitting, and I estimated where I might be sitting and where my head might lie in the plane of where I'm going to be taking the photo. And I put that right there, found focus, and put it on manual, so it didn't change at all when I put on the timer. I wouldn't say that's the best way, but if you are pretty good at judging that, and especially if you're shooting at a higher aperture like I was, I think it was around an f11, it gives a little bit more forgiveness. Is it foolproof? No, but it works. So if anybody really wants to try this and do a self-portrait on themselves, that is a way you can do it if you don't have a remote. So the next step is I want to go phase by phase when I'm setting up those 3 lights. So in my eyes, I have 3 different phases. Phase 1, let's get the key light going. What is it going to look like and how is it going to look on camera? Now, all I did for that light was I did move it around a little bit. I thought I wanted to go more Rembrandt, which it causes that little triangle on the opposite side of the face, right underneath your opposite eye from the light. And it can be very, very flattering. A lot of photographers use it, but you know what? It just wasn't really fitting the vibe of what I was trying to create. I decided to go a little bit more dramatic, which then I decided I'm going to try a side light. Side light is exactly what it sounds like. You are lighting literally from the side, and you're going to be illuminating that one side of your face that is closest to the light, and then the other side of your face is going to have a much more dramatic shadow happening on it. Now, this is really good for like a sinister look sometimes, or just really dramatic, or you want to look like a badass. But something really important for me is getting that little bit of catch light in your eyes. I think it just makes your eyes kind of come alive, and without it, I mean, it still looks good. I know a lot of great photographers that, they don't have that, but for me, I like it. So I want to make sure I'm still getting that. So wherever I'm placing the light, I want to make sure that the source is big enough and in the right spot that it's going to get a little bit of that highlight in each one of my eyes. Next, when I dial in that exposure, it's time to set up my rim light. Now, a rim light, again, exactly what it sounds like. It's creating a rim and separating your backside, the back of your head, your back of your shoulder from the background. Now, I was wearing a sweatshirt, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool if I shine some light right into that sweatshirt hoodie to really kind of show the separation from my neck, and there's a hoodie on. I don't know. That's more of a stylistic choice, but essentially it's still doing the same thing. You're separating yourself from the background, and that rim light is still hitting the opposite side of my face from where my key light is. So it brings a little bit more detail back into it, and it looks really, really nice if you do it properly. Finally, the last step. Now, this is something that I haven't done in the past because I haven't had that 3 light setup. Normally, I like to shoot these types of portraits without any backdrop at all, and I just use all the settings in the cameras and the strength of the lights to really just make that backdrop look pure black, even if you have nothing behind you. I actually did a video on it, and I'll link it down below. But this time, I had a backdrop, and I wanted to shine that light right up against that backdrop to separate me even more from the backdrop, but also to show a little bit of a gradient. It adds a bit of an effect, and you can do this in all sorts of ways. You can do it with a snoot, you can do it from beneath like I did, but essentially it's all the same thing. You're just creating a little bit more interest in your photo than just having it pure black or pure white or pure color, whatever you are shooting at that time. Rule of thumb for me is I don't like that light to be very high. I think it should just be a little bit of a detail and not a focus point of your actual photo itself. I think if it's too bright, it's going to cause some distraction, maybe some bounce. You might pick up some weird details that you don't want in the backdrop. So I keep it pretty low, but it creates that little bit of gradient to make your photo just stand out and look a little bit more professional. In terms of power settings for all of these, it's really tough to say because it's all going to depend on your location, your camera settings. In my case, my key light was the strongest power of all of these. Then it was my rim light with my snoot on it. And then last was the third light that I had shining right behind me just to create that little bit of extra detail like I was talking about. After you figure all that out, you're looking at the final step, which is posing. Now that's probably my least favorite out of all of these steps because all the other ones, it's just like setting it up and bouncing light and it's really fun and interesting. Now, when you're doing a self-portrait, and you're just looking right at camera, you don't have anybody giving you any guidance. It's just you, lens, and then your own judgment going into your head like, this looks terrible. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is why I'm behind the camera. Trust me, I have all of that every single time, but it's a good way to practice. I'm not saying you should make a career out of taking self-portraits. I guess a lot of people have made a good career out of taking self-portraits, selfies. But that's not what I'm here to do. For me, it was to practice the lighting, and I think you could do the same thing. So once you get all that figured out, you've got your lighting set up, you kind of have exactly how you like your portrait setting. Maybe the camera's sitting a little higher, sitting a little lower. You're maybe shooting wide angle or more telephoto. But it's that part is all up to you and your own style. Just play around with it, see what you like. You can still do it with only 2 lights or even using natural light, but the concepts and the basics of how you're gonna light your subject is all the same. That's all I got for you all today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you guys do decide to try this at home on your own, send it my way. Tag me in your post. I wanna see it. I love it when I see people do exactly what I'm doing or take what I'm talking about all the time or showing all my behind the scenes and use it as their own and run with it and make it more creative. I definitely want to see it. So shoot me a DM, tag me in it, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys do. All right, guys, you all have a great week and I'll talk to you guys next time. I'm Evan Naka and take it easy.